Alrighty, so welcome everybody to another SENCE Podcast. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, which means it's about 9:30, quarter to 10 over there on the East Coast in the States. And what an incredible weather we've been having, and the energy that's been going very much in tandem with that weather. So for those who don't know, Australia has been pretty much burning in every state. There's been ridiculous amounts of fires, but we've had a big shift in the weather and we've had some rain. So all of a sudden our situation has turned around. Mother Gaia has said, I think I've punished enough in this rebirth situation, and creating an opportunity to turn things back to a neutral state, a 0 point of return, if you like. And it's a good place to start from where things are at right now, and that is, the sun is in Capricorn, the moon is in Leo, and we've just had a full moon lunar eclipse in Cancer yesterday. We'll be talking a bit about that. And of course today, the 11th, what's just been the 11th, we've had Uranus, the maverick planet of change station direct, which is also trining to Venus. And that is creating a very, very interesting sense of freedom more and more. And it's hot on the heels, if you like, of what is going to be the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is happening as we speak right here in the Southern Hemisphere on the 12th of January. So what does it all mean? Where are we all at? And as the podcast states in its title, have you met the new you? Have you looked in the mirror? What do you see? Do you like what you see? Well, I can tell you, for the best of it, for the most of us that have done the work, and it is about doing the work, we have indeed arrived at a very, very powerful new transition into the now. And I think the analogy I want to share before I bring Riki online, who's back in the UK. He's left London now and gone back to his home base. He'll speak a little bit more about that and his journey shortly. But I think the easiest way I would like to, offer a kind of a colourful sort of expression of this particular type of energy, think about it, full moon, lunar eclipse, that is kind of releasing and surrendering all that no longer serves you, and, and being really super grateful, humble in your blissful bubble of joy, and forgiving everything that has happened to you, forgiving everything that you've ultimately perhaps advertently or inadvertently unleashed on another. And when Uranus comes direct, when it's been in retrograde, meaning as a planet, it kind of stops and it looks, or it creates the illusion of going backwards. We arrive at a convergence point, which gives us a real sort of a light bulb moment, and we wake up more and more. So there's a lot to be said about that, but let me give you this metaphor, this colourful sort of expression of what this really means. So all of us out there have gone and done a lot of internal work. We've recognised the intrinsic goodness within ourselves, and we have been collapsing our wave function into the most lucid state of conscious expression, because we realise that we're really all sound and vibration. So we are freestanding tuning forks that are transmitting the highest octave of self-expression. And the greatest descriptor that I can offer, that we can offer in the collective, is it's all about trusting that the external will take care of itself while we continue to work on the internal. And the example I would like to offer is, imagine you and those that you consider on the other side of this new parallel timeline to be your new tribe. And imagine that all of you hold a blindfold in your hands. But before you go through this process of trust and allowing to emanate and radiate this highest octave of self-expression, this transmission of your higher self, you look forward and you see this incredible ship, this boat, this vessel, this craft that you've all worked so hard to create. You've created it with your actions. You've created with your perception of self-correction. You've created it with the discerning filter through which you've developed and now implemented your relationships. You've created it through the lineage of your ancestral lines. You've created it through the conviction to your belief structures, the archetypes that you continue to hold dear. In other words, all of the fractalized or fragmented aspects of your own beingness in your own journey, your arc, if you like, your own hero's journey, has brought you to this moment, and now you stand in front of this incredible new vessel. And as you turn to each other now, and you blindfold one another before you board this incredible vessel, you're all very much now in your heart space. You're not in the language of the mind. You're not thinking about, how is it that an impulse created within the cosmology of molecular structure generates a thought within a thought construct. You're not thinking that way. You're only about being experiential, and that's what this energy and that's what this Saturn-Pluto conjunction today is bringing us all. And now that you're all blindfolded and you're standing on your deck of your new vessel, you release yourself from the dock and you simply allow the universe to well up underneath the keel of this incredible boat, this ship, this vessel, and move you listlessly through the expanse of all. Because you are one in all for one in the totia, the one that is all in the we are. And that is the true expanse of this new parallel reality, this new energized or energetic timeline. And it's a really incredible place to be. Now, you have a choice at this point in time, which is what Uranus is asking all of us, because Uranus is the planet of maverick change, and it is all about embracing freedom. And freedom within the language or expression that we all share with each other pretty much comes from our choice points. And that choice point is reflected in something that has become a rather distorted term within the vocabulary that we share with each other, and that is the concept of free will. So Uranus is asking you to embrace freedom by allowing free will to be the cogs of invention, your driving force, the form that you create now. It's about being experiential, as I said before. And this is an incredible opportunity to really, really embrace something that may or may not be fueled or driven by emotion. Because let's face it, if we look at emotion in the way that we've been reflecting it through the mirror of our existence, it's a pretty distorted plane, isn't it, really? Because we have these preconceived ideas of these emotional states that kind of force us into a reactionary state. And when we become reactionary, we allow the expanses of our ego to get into the driver's seat and move our vehicle in a direction we really don't want to be in, more or less. So it's a very, very powerful time, guys. And the Pluto-Saturn conjunction on the 12th, and the new moon that is looming, coming in Aquarius on the 24th, is signaling the arrival of the Aquarian New Age. Right? That whole concept of the third density, the 3D illusory reality that we've all been party to and beholden to, is a figment of our imagination. It no longer holds sway. It no longer has any weight. It's no longer real to us. We're on the other side now, and it's about this co-creative opportunity to share the highest octave of self-expression with everybody as we continue to assess, evaluate, configure, and even recalibrate all of our relationships, personal and or business. So with that sort of said, and with that sort of blissful output being put very much on the table for most, the question we're asking everyone is, have you met the new you? Because after Monday, after the Saturn-Pluto conjunction begins its transit into the early degrees, of this powerful 500-year, rare transit, what will appear on the other side is going to be a completely new version, a reinvented version of you. So now looking in the mirror, we're not going to sit there anymore and say, well, I'm never going to be as good as him, and he does it so much better than me, and she's got it going on more than I have. And famous people will always have more, and I will never have the same. Right? We're always in that sort of questioning factor. Well, that questioning factor, that need to gratify, that need to, validate ourselves is no longer apparent in any way, shape or form. So I hope you're all feeling that you're ready to board this ship. You're ready to put on the blindfold. You're ready to throw caution to the wind. And most importantly, you're ready to trust. Trust that the external, the planetary transits, the different photon energies, the new light codes that are downloading into our being and reconfiguring and calibrating our cellular memory is happening without our knowledge. It's happening without us even needing to do anything about it. It's happening. They call it the event. They call it the happening. Well, the happening is real. It's there. It's happening in the now. So with that sort of said, Riki, welcome to the show. I hope things are well. You've heard me kind of like lay it on the line for what these new energies are bringing. How are you feeling at the moment?
Pretty brilliant. Started off the year with a bit of a cold and that, and so that was, for me, usually the beginning of the year is like wow, here we go, we're gonna, all these new things that we're gonna do, and we've got New Year's resolutions, and, we're gonna implement all this, and I was just like hit with a cold, which was interesting really, because it's made me come into this year more mellow in my approach, and I think that's kind of the point, because what we're talking about here is not being so caught up in the goal or what we're trying to achieve, and more, leave the rigidity of the mind and come into a state of beingness. And, like you say, really trust that the universe has our back if we are bringing forward our soul purpose and our soul energy. So in knowing that, you can almost let the anxiety and the fears go and just really do what you're here to do on the earth, because obviously we're not here to be completely swamped by fears and all that. They have their place, but it's not beneficial now, the world we're kind of moving into, so feeling very positive, and not putting any pressure on myself, that's one of the main things, because there's so much pressure, there's so much drive for a lot of the population as soon as they wake up, to be on with something. And I'm realizing that the cultivation of this inner intuition is the way forward, and for me, I'm about 35% there. In other words, my intuition isn't built up fully yet, my true seventh sense, and guiding system.
That's great, man, because again, that's authentic, right? That's the transparency that you're allowing, you're radiating that from, the highest core of your being.
Yeah, and I think it is about that this year. It's all about radiating our truth, and the spirit comes through in that truth. So obviously we know that the old rigidity and the lies and the control, the need to control, needs to drop away. And I think that's what's beautiful when you actually trust that the universe has your back. You're no longer unconsciously trying to control others or the situation or, experience around you. And in that you allow the universe to, flow and work with you more. So there's a real sense of really needing to also listen more, be open to listening, not always trying to do or accomplish, but being able to listen to the universe from a heart space, then move forward more knowing what you need to do rather than just clutching at straws or, again, being driven by the fear. So, yeah.
And when you say, driven by the fear, which is what I took from what you just said then, that's basically, it's a trigger, right? It's an emotional trigger. And I think it'd be good for you to share with the people, the transition. Let's look at, you were all the way over on the other side, in Europe, in the south of Spain, and then you came back, but you came back via Glastonbury. At that point in time, you hooked up with a few individuals. One of those situations took you directly to London for a bit of co-creation, co-inhabitation. Talk to us about that, because that's a really part of, you having to witness and be experiential within someone else's fear, right?
Yeah, indeed. I had to really realise that the situation wasn't right for me where I'm currently at, and yeah, sometimes we're running away from situations or, they're difficult, but other times we know that within that situation there's more work that the two people need to do. And it was good that we both realised that, and could talk about those things in an adult way without just going completely into, reactance like many relationships do, But, coming from being in South Spain and having that warmth and that easy life of, it's difficult in certain aspects because you've got the wind and the elements and, you don't know I didn't know where my money was coming from because I was playing my guitar on the street for money and, it wasn't reliable, but in a way it always worked out okay every day, And then, of course, coming back to England, deciding that, right, you need to come back to England and, this is the place to do your music and bring the deeper message through the music, and realising that it's a sacrifice, basically, because, I loved being out in the sun, and I loved sleeping on the earth every night, so beautiful and powerful,
Yeah.
And then coming back to England, it was actually not quite as cold as I thought, And then went to Glastonbury, which is obviously supposedly one of the most spiritual hearts of England, and there is a lot of good stuff going on there, there's a lot of lost souls as well, and then going to London to spend time with this lady to see how we got on. So it's big contrast, talking,
yeah,
totally different country, and then back to England and then to London, which the energy of London was, I've not really spent much time in London, but it's good having these experiences so close to each other because you see the contrast, and London, there's just a lot of depression and sort of just, it's like having a murky water, the spirit doesn't seem to be, there as much, but the lady that I was staying with, she managed to bring her soul energy through to a big degree for somewhere like London. So that's good, And in a way, this is what this is about. It's about trying to, not so much be focused on problems and that's what this is saying about Uranus and all that. I was looking at some videos about the Uranus change that's coming in, letting go of rigid beliefs and, not so focusing on problems, but allowing the inner freedom to well up and the phoenix sort of energy to well up, maybe not so much rebellion, but more so creative freedom, allowing yourself to drop into, what really ignites your passions and joy. We're not here to get caught in problematic thinking and always, trying to find solutions to things all the time. There's a place for that, but often those solutions come when we're in divine flow. So, it's about going about things a different way and no force, not trying to force things. So.
I think that's great. Let's stop there for a minute and really focus on this word force. As I said earlier when we first began, Uranus is the planet of magical maverick change and transformation. You'd have to say, regardless of the fact that you're a Gemini, obviously, and with a Leo rising, that you've been through maverick change. Wouldn't you say that? You can't say, Riki, for 1 second that you're the same dude that that I knew 6 months ago, right?
No, that's right, and and I think that's good, and we're becoming the truth of who we are, really, and I love that, because you can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong being your authentic self, and that's what you really want with your whatever it is you're doing, your spiritual journey or whatever. You really want to feel like life is shifting and evolving, because that's what nature does, and the whole laws of nature all play into this, and that's a whole interesting topic in itself.
And do you feel at the moment that there is a certain amount of what I call more heightened and a more sensitive, perception of your planar reality and your environment right now? Do you feel that there's a kind of like, I call it a heightened sense of colour? I'm feeling a greater sense of colour around me. Everything has a more vivid hue.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. I'm not as so much in that state, but of course I've been shifting around and moving to different houses and all this stuff. But basically, especially when in meditation, it's a sensitivity. It's basically that I think we're becoming more sensitive and more aligned to that sensitivity. So when you go outside and look at nature, the colours look more vivid. There seems to be an aura around the plants and that, and you seem to sense other people more, and whether they're sad or happy or, what they're feeling. So I think all our senses being heightened like that is a true thing, and it, brings me back to the Lemurian sort of, world and the way. And I think it's funny because, society kind of has had the sensitivity knocked out of us, through chemicals and, violence in the media and all those things. But, and it's almost become as if sensitivity is scary, for people, let's be defensive all the time, let's be tough. But it's funny how coming back into our sensitivity, there's this guidance system, and there's the whole world is more beautiful, everything we experience is enlivened and enriched, and the whole landscape of life is becoming more and more alive, and I think that's really beautiful, and that's very needed. We need to be sensitive to our comrades, to our brothers, sisters, family, all of it, so that we can be better, with everybody,
you're better equipped, right? That's what you're saying, that you become more better equipped because you become aware, self-aware. Everything is self-aware of any given situation or circumstance. So it gives you new tools, it equips you with new tools, and allows your third-party interactions to be a lot more clear and cut, rather than that whole sort of, oh my God, the expectation of dealing with this person from my experience has been this. Therefore, I've already got a conditioned idea, right, of the way that interaction's going to play out. Well, what if that interaction is only illusory and it's been part of my kind of conditioning and the way that I've been taught to act and react, but all that's gone now, right? That's all the smoke and mirrors that we were stuck in, that kind of, that veil of amnesia that we refer to a great deal. And it's probably, worth discussing in more detail what it feels like to be interactive with people when we don't have that preconceived idea of how to act with them.
Yeah, I think so. And, there's been a lot of sort of beating around the bush with people. We were taught to sort of, not really express the real truth of where we're at and, keep the peace all the time, and it's not really about that. It's about being authentic with others and, that allows energy to really move and people to know where they're at. And that clear-cut communication really allows change to happen, because obviously if you're lying or you're not being authentic, it's like you keep this energy open, you keep this unhealthy energy open. Really, obviously, it's funny because people can say, like, if you're going into spiritual flow or whatever, maybe, you're not doing so much practical stuff in your life. But if you think about it, one of these key areas being authentic, the more authentic you can be, the other person knows exactly where you're at and you can get on and move on, So it's the same as when we talk about, closing one door to open another door. We've got to, the more truthful and more clear and more authentic the energy is, the more life flows, so.
Yeah. Definitely. And do you feel that life force is now so much lighter? I feel that there's the life force that gets us up in the morning. It's funny how our construct used to be always about, what it is that was on our schedule. Okay, yeah, oh my God, I've got to get up. I've got to be in that sort of subservient state to get ready to punch my clock, and go to work and be subservient and slave-like to, an agenda that I never really bought into in the first place. Whereas now I'm sort of waking up and the first thought that is being collapsed, within my thought generator is gratitude. Wow, here I am again, ready to embark on another amazing, adventure here in the Gaia classroom. I've learnt so much, and what I don't feel like I've taken away from what I've learned, I've been humble enough to thank it for its service and send it back to source, because we're all fractals, if you like. We're all fragments and fractals of first source. And now we're learning how to galvanize and draw the broken parts of self back together.
Indeed, yeah. And, I feel like a lot of that heaviness is leaving, and it's not always, going into emotion and clearing, old wounds and things like that. Sometimes it's more of a change of understanding in life, more of having a clear outlook on life, understanding reality deeper, Sometimes something just clicks and, you start to drop the things that are pulling you back. Other times, of course, it's more hard work and it's more about, being able to release some trauma from the body system or, have a good cry or whatever it is that someone needs, So it's a mixture of various things, and holistically, that's the way to move forward, bringing in and being open. We've really got to be able to be open to many different ways to enliven and enrich our lives, And I think that's the thing, having had so many positive experiences and realizing that, wow, we really can turn our life around. You start to realize that we're not victims in this life and that there's always something we can do, and also the fact that sometimes there's maybe only one thing we feel like we can do in any situation, but you start with that one thing and it opens you up to millions of other possibilities because, you've been willing to put the effort into changing that one thing, whether it be stopping smoking or whatever, your vibration rises, and then the universe gives you a million other brilliant things you can do to enliven your life,
It gives you gifts, right? That's the thing, once we begin to recognize our worthiness, in this new higher octave of our own self-expression, our own understanding of our experiential state, on the planet, we begin to be endowed with these very powerful gifts. And one of the gifts that I'd love to hear from anybody, and I see we've got quite a few online with us, which is really good. Thank you so much, everybody. If anybody has this kind of feeling of being able to communicate without words, using a certain level of telepathy, if you like, a heightened sense of perception, when it is communicating with people. If anybody wants to call in or discuss that with us, let us know. But this business of understanding the reflective nature of the way we used to be, our genetic template, our original blueprint, of course, where we were etheric beings, we were spirit. And of course we were all in a divine flow, if you call it a sort of a universal mist, in which we all predominantly were part of the primordial stew. Well, a lot of us are going back to that now. A lot of us are feeling as if we can draw so much around us in an effort to then express ourselves in the most truthful and authentic and seamless and loving manner possible. And that ensures that when we get confronted with a third-party situation that is someone else's drama, we can very quickly ascertain, using our empowerment, using our sovereignty, to decide or discern, are we going to attach to that, or are we going to remain kind of out of the frame more and more? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that, there's two things. There's the running away from problems, running away from, people that trigger us, but there's also sometimes it's important to walk away from people who are triggering, because they're not always coming from a healthy place. So it's interesting, isn't it, really, because we don't want to just isolate ourselves from all challenge and live in a world where we can just safely not have to deal with anything, sort of thing, because obviously other people are a mirror that help us reflect things we need to heal on ourselves. But also at the same time, we're not required to continually be in a state around unhealthy, negative people who, because they're in their pain body, are drawing us into our pain body because they want the reactions. Ultimately, they want their pain seen and healed. They're trying to find resolution in an unhealthy way, which is obviously what humanity is generally doing at the moment. So, I think that, it is important who our tribe is and who we're hanging around with, and to be able to discern that which is healthy for us,
Anyone who's listening that wants to sort of understand what we mean by that, it's trust, right? Trust your own initiatives. Trust your own intuition. Don't always fall into the kind of the easy way of following your beast nature. The beast nature is there to challenge you, sure, and it's part and parcel of understanding, what it means to express reactionary behavior, but it doesn't mean that it's the be-all of the end-all, right? The beast nature is something that we can learn to control, just like, any sort of control program or conditioning or program life, which is very much part of the manipulation of the human genome. Many of us have learned through our spiritual practice, through our devotional practice, through our diligence to our true and our higher calling, to be able to manage that, not necessarily polarize, the control program, but at least manage it to a point where it doesn't infect us and it doesn't affect us the way that it used to. And this is a really important point to understand with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that I'll go into a bit more detail about in a minute, is the fact that for most of our lives, we've been what is known as the affected, right? Our circumstances, the integrations, the interactions, the education, the sort of religious upbringing and archetypes and whatnot has made us an affected world, an affected society. And now it's like we are becoming the affectors, right? We're taking what we thought was, an assault on our senses or an assault on our person or an assault on our belief structures, And we're circumventing that in such a way to help us to become, well, we're not going to get affected by that. We're not going to get drawn into that. We're going to be the effectors, meaning we're going to interpret how that's going to work for us. Or in a lot of cases, if it doesn't work for us, well then, once again, we can then acknowledge that, recognize, its service, and once again, send it back to source. So how do you feel about being on the opposite side of this reflective mirror now and no longer feeling so affected and being more of the liberator, the effector?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's the thing, I think when you start sometimes on these journeys, you see all the things that have affected you, and there's a few years of that, there's a few years of oh God, I don't like the media, blah, blah, but, it's once you get out the other side, there's no point in continually focusing on those things because we're the creators of our own reality. And so, yeah, for me now it's about, come into your healing, I'm going to be helping people and that, but also come into the music, bring the creative energy forward that is from my, source, which obviously those sort of things, they touch the hearts of other people and help inspire others to bring forward their...
We both share the same love of that, as you know, Riki. That's something that's very important to the both of us. Go on.
Exactly. So, so no long, it's about disconnecting from those things, and I'm no longer interested in obviously news and that. It's nice to see some things that are going on, but there are some other websites which kind of give you the news in a more clearer manner. But yeah, we need to be able to focus on, because life is short, let's face it, and although time doesn't really kind of exist, this doesn't matter, because this is a beautiful, beautiful chance that we have here, and once we start to feel like we have some power in our lives, and that we don't need to listen to the external, but more the internal powerful source within, which is obviously aligning us with a much deeper cause, and also aligning us to our destiny, because I do feel like not necessarily it's a pre-planned path for us, but that there are certain pathways that we can go down which really, really ignite us and bring us into our power. So in that sense, many of us will be doing things like, talking in front of groups of people, creating our own YouTube channel and sharing our positive experience, or even our pains and hurts, or just being authentic. People will be finding that they can sing when they didn't realize it, and just should be a general wave of more creation coming out. So, and I think really that's what's going to break down the rigidity that we talked about, because in the past it was the general elite, the elites and the ones with money who had the say in what came forward as this is how reality should be, Now we're finding that there's millions of thousands of these groups coming together, who all have a different aspect, but obviously these groups need to realize that they also need to be open to or the other groups, and that everything is medicine. So, I just really think that once we can reclaim that energy back and that real creative power that we all have, and it doesn't have to be art or music or the typical creative things that we do, creativity can be in the business world, obviously. So, and there's that sense of reclaiming your power, within that there's this lovely, beautiful well of energy, and that is what we are. It's almost like, we have a part of us that is like this beautiful flower opening, or the universe, looking up at the stars, how that is expansive and beautiful, and that's how much potential we have. So, I think inspiration in 2020 is the key, to inspire ourselves and others, and bring forward that motivation, which obviously gives you the power and the courage and incentive to deal with the things that you might be resisting in life as well, because obviously for a long time, I think we have resisted a lot of things, especially, you know, how we feel and, you know, being authentic and all that, you know. So it's really cool, you know, and yeah, out the other side of all of this, you know, coming into 2020 and having shed this old skin of the old me, as you say, there is just so much determination to move forward, but not in a way like I'm forging forward and, you know, like burning myself out, but in a way that I'm actually coming to center. And it's almost like becoming the center of the universe. You know, you feel okay where you're at, wherever you're at, pretty much. You know, you feel at peace within yourself, and you have no need to try and manipulate much outside of yourself, because you just know that what you're doing is right, because you trust yourself. You know, I trust myself now. And that's what other people around you want to hear. They want to know that you trust yourself, because if you don't, you know, you come across as flaky, or, you know, people don't trust you, you know.
Great, Riki. Again, I mean, there are so many beautiful mirrors to that prism that you just created, and let me just make that clear. Prism as in PRISM, a multi-dimensional, multi-fractalized, you know, object of different bouncing beams of light. And one of the things that I think is really indicative of this 2020 new energy that a lot of us are feeling, although I'll be honest, man, I'm getting a lot of different, you know, woe is me, and I'm not handling it well, and I feel like I can't breathe, and, you know, my muscles are sore, and I feel all heavy and rather listless and sort of out of sorts. Well, you're not really allowing those things that have been part of your whole kind of the old mutant paradigm of the 3D, and being subservient and being slave-like to your belief structures, and putting archetypes up on pedestals, and believing every so-called spiritual wannabe and the guff that they're pretty much spouting. That's not going to help you to move forward. And this is because you still remain very fractalized. You're very fragmented. There's not a lot of cohesion to you. And you keep collapsing, because everything is, as Riki said, it's all medicine, but reflected within the wider expanse of mathematics, you know, mathematical equations that help us to understand the anomalies between time-bound realities that are illusory and what exists outside time-bound realities in multiverses. So most of us, to some degree, keep collapsing all of our thought into particles, and we're observing them in a very kind of a heavy and negative way, so they're solidifying and becoming a manifested reality. So let me go a little deeper, because I think people are ready to hear this. So now we've got, as we speak, here in the Southern Hemisphere, you know, in Australia, in Pacific, you know, the Pacific region, it is now the 12th of January in the year 2020, right? 2020, the 2 and the 2 are 4, right? 4 is a universal year of physical manifestation. That's fact. So what you truly have in your heart, you have the ability to manifest into your physical environment, into your physical sense of expression. But the other thing to remember is we have 2, a prime number, and 0, and then 2, a prime number, and 0. So we have this mirror of an infinite probability and possibility reflected at a 0 point. Right, what we call a neutral point, a 0 point on the scale of, you know, electrical charge, energetic charge, if you like. And what this intense Capricorn stellium, they're calling, the Saturn, Pluto, Sun, Mercury, all conjunct in the sign of Capricorn, is a real change in top-down leadership and this whole one-directional goal setting in transforming all systems and structures. So it's almost as if the institutions, the centralized systems, the secret societies, and all of these, erroneous kind of, perpetuating illusory scenarios are falling apart. They're breaking down. They're no longer being able to maintain that rigid structure and control over people. So what this does when we have this kind of stop thinking that if I set this goal and it's the be-all of the end-all, that if I don't put all my time and energy into it, it's going to be, a non-manifest, right? Well, that's because your perception is limiting it and you're dedicating it all to external outcomes, right? You're expecting the external to well up and support your initiative to create these things. We're not in that space anymore. We're moving into a devotion of the process. And the process is a non-process, right? It's actually not forcing, not thinking anymore, not allowing our certain perception of the way that things are supposed to be, right? So if you're not devoted, really conviction and devotion to what you are really doing right now, then your goals are an illusion, right? Now that's hard for a lot of people to kind of wrap their head around, but it's really simple. You have to be committed. You have to do the work. You have to be in a recognizable state of liberating yourself. And when you liberate yourself, you recognize self-love. And when you recognize self-love and draw self-love into your unified energy field, well, guess what? You can then externalize that and actually love other people. And then the expression of love becomes real. Because for so long, love is just so ridiculously delusional and very much part of a larger deception. Now, we'll talk about that in a moment, but let me just go a little further. So keep in mind that many of your goals are pretty much taken from the ideals of other people. Wow, penny drops. They're not inspired from within, right? They're not. They come because, I want to be like that person. And as I said at the beginning of the podcast, if you turn around and go, no, he does it better than me, I'll always be, in that lower kind of, vibration when it comes to being able to really express my truth, and only famous people will get ahead. And, you have all these preconceived ideas of the way that you think things should be. Well, they're not inspired from within. They are not experiential, right? If there's one word to recognize out of everything that Riki and I are sharing tonight, and I do have to apologise, Greg's he's playing music somewhere in a venue, and Corey's actually gone to see the new World War II movie 1917, which people are raving about. It won all the Golden Globes. So they're in different kind of mindsets at the moment. But if there's one thing to take away from your time with us this morning, then take this word away. Be experiential, right? Understand that all experience stems from within and not from outside. Your thoughts, Riki?
Yeah, that's really beautiful, and wow.
I don't know. Can I just say, I don't know where it comes from, man. Right? As I said, I just wake up in the morning and I go, oh my God, I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky because first of all, Uranus is shaking everybody's ass up from up to down, down to up. Right? You are all getting tumbled around in the washing machine. But Uranus is in Taurus, which is fixed Earth, right? And I am Taurus with Venus rising, and I have Venus trining Uranus at the moment in preparation for this 500-year cycle with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So that planet is grounding my love for Mother Earth and my place on Mother Earth, terra firma. And I are imbued, we're transfused in a beautiful energetic arc of, higher octave of vibration and frequency. But not a lot of people are.
No, so yeah, what you're saying about experience, it's finally got something to say on it, but the experience is beautiful, and that's what I've understood, even the difficult ones, and when you can come from that neutral place and when you feel at peace inside yourself, and yeah, it may take a few years, because we've got to come out of so much rigidity, so much that really held back the spirit, and that is the general thing that's happened to us on the planet, since childhood. Obviously as an early child we had that spirit energy there more,
Yeah.
And as we grew up, we sort of, I can feel how I felt more powerless at certain times, let's just put it that way, but always had this feeling in the back of me that I was more powerful than I realised, and always had that feeling I'm going to be alright sort of thing. But it's these experiences that when you do come to a place of peace, and hopefully we do before we die, we realise the gift in all those beautiful, beautiful experiences, including the pain, which is why I always feel inside me that the thought of someone dying to me that I love isn't just really, really bad. It feels like beautiful as well, and an opportunity to really connect with that person, and it's an absolutely beautiful thing, death, and but you only see that when you're sort of out the other side of being caught completely in the pain and that, so yeah, I mean, living from an experience base means that you understand that these beautiful experiences, if you learn from them, and as long as you're willing to learn, they'll move you forward to your destination. So there's a real sense that you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong if you're following your heart and you know what you're doing, but it takes time to really get into that state where yeah, I'm making the right choices in my life here, and in that state, you don't need to worry too much about the future because you are being experiential, because you're being
big cheer for you there, Riki, if you don't mind me just quickly saying, big cheer there for you, because you said that it takes time. It is not an overnight situation.
Yeah. So one thing for me, like, I'll be honest here and speak about a worry that I had. It's not a terrible worry because I do trust, but inside I saw that other people had done really well at school and college, and they've got their houses and, they're settled down. And obviously there's a negative to all that as well. There's a positive to my life, which is being more vagabond and, had upheaval and, lots of varying experiences, but partly inside me I was like, well, when I get to sort of 70 years old or whatever, I'm going to think, oh shit, like, what did I do? I didn't spend any time building up a business, or, I didn't spend much time working in the normal, job sectors with good jobs. I'm a musician, managed to get my way out of addiction and pull myself out of, being caught in patterns that didn't really, move me forward in life,
Absolutely.
But, and that's the inspiration in the songs, because obviously the experience of having been through hell, and, absolute hell, not necessarily worse than anyone else's, but yeah, I've been through it too. You've got a story, you've got something to bring that can inspire others to bring themselves out of their own hell, and that's going to be the message with my own music, as these lyrics come forward, as the soul energy sort of manifests these songs into form. So yeah, I mean, if we truly trust, then we know that these experiences, are not to be fought with, but are something for our growth. So yeah, we no longer need to worry so much about the goals. It's not that we don't have a goal, but if we do make any goal, then it's a kind of, it's a goal that we know the universe will support, and, because a lot of the time it's about wasting energy, which is what humans think to do. You know, you waste energy down pathways that you think are going to achieve your goals. And then you're like, oh, damn, you know, 5 months later you think to yourself, I just spent all that time doing that because I had this desperate need to be fulfilled, or I had this desperate need to achieve, and actually I could have just been enjoying myself, you know, and that would have actually, you know, got me further down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's stay with goal setting, okay? I want to go into a bit more depth about that. I've got a feeling that we've got quite a lot of people online with us, which is great. But I want to go into a bit more depth about that. Guys, don't be so concerned about reaching a finish line in your life. Think of the tortoise and the hare. I know it sounds like a fairy tale and what is this, Kitty Hour or something, but you know, sometimes going back to absolute base simplicity is a better lesson than anything, right? If you're calculating, if you're really all about the process, if you're truly committed to your ideals, if you don't have to listen to all the external monkey chatter of everybody telling you what to do, you won't need a finish line because you'll always be radiating in a bubble of bliss. So let me be a little cryptic here. Let me be, you know, rationally kind of boring for a moment. Reaching a goal does not guarantee lasting happiness. Very few people can maintain consistent levels of joy after completing a goal. Classic case, celebrities, you know, using their celebrity, continue to accumulate and aggregate, but when you made one-on-one without the camera, without the TV eye, and you speak to them, you'll find that they're probably some of the most lonely people in the world. I know because my background as a star maker for 36 years in the music industry before I retired, you know, and that's the whole thing, I did get a chance to spend time in a lot of living rooms with, you know, a lot of Hollywood people. And it was amazing. If you just actually sat there, drank your coffee and your tea and shut up, they would just literally, you know, blurt away. They would tell you their life story. And they would tell you that all the money and all the fame and all of the kind of I know everybody and I'm blessed with all these, you know, incredible opportunities, none of it brought them happiness, right? In fact, they also felt that when they weren't reaching a particular goal, or most people feel when they don't reach a goal, that it leaves you more frustrated and downcast, and you start to fall into the habit of stating again to yourself and then in the external to others, I'm not good enough. Get out of that mentality. So it's not the setting of goals that matters, it's the process itself. The times of unnatural goal setting are dissipating into the ether. They are dissolving as we speak, right? That's what this new meta language that we've been speaking about is all about. Reinventing the very means by which we express ourselves. Filmmakers and television producers and executives and, you know, formats like Netflix and Roku and whatever are doing that as we speak by putting all these really thought-provoking, you know, shows on the air that have these cryptic, underlying, metaphorical reflections of, you know, life experience, experiential opportunity, if you like. So the time for inspired devotion is here. Now, I'm certain that there's a lot of people that will listen to the repeat of this broadcast and start to say, oh, he must mean my spiritual devotion, my devotional practice, you know, my need to get on my hands and knees and clasp my hands together and, you know, and praise God, praise Allah, praise Jehovah, blah, 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 all that kind of thing. No, I'm not, right? That's part of the illusion. That's part of the delusion. That's part of the deeper deception. All religion, all subservient, you know, dogma and or modality is man-made, right? There's nothing truly, you know, divinely inspired within it. But, you know, that's a whole different thing.
Well, yeah, like Jesus was my brother, you know.
Yeah, he's my brother too, man. You know, that's what I'm trying to say, dude. But there are people shaking their fist at us right now going, how dare you? Oh my gosh, blasphemy. Get off it, dudes. Get out of it, man. It's not about that anymore. That's part of the delusion. So the times of unnatural goal setting are dissolving, and the time for inspired devotion is here. That inspiration, it stems from you, right?
Mm.
Your ability to accomplish things is enhanced only by you being totally devoted to the process. You can't be a weekend warrior, right? You can't go, well, I've just got to push these buttons. I've got to keep on punching the clock. I've got to keep serving the man. I got to be in the nowhere in job that I don't want to be in or whatever. But then on the weekend, oh my God, I'm going to put on all my robes and I'm going to put on all my mala beads and my crystal amulets and I'm going to go out into the world, man, and I'm going to be in the flow. What a crock of shit. I'm sorry to say, but that's a crock of shit. Okay? And you got to get out of that thing, because that's not what this is about anymore. We're past that. We're in a totally new flow, and we're, you know, I got to say one more thing. I was so lucky last night to be on a live stream broadcast on YouTube with our compadre Corey Kaplan, you know, from the States, talking about the modern monomyth, metamyth for Twin Peaks. And what he was saying, and what the people that were there that were sharing in the chat window, was that they were examples of systematic abuse, right? Symptomatic abuse, child violence, just all these traumatic experiences, you know, and many suffered from PTSD and ADHD, and, you know, and some had schizophrenia, and all of these people found this common voice to let them know that they weren't doing so well a while ago, but now they're doing really, really well. And that is reflective of people learning to no longer have this defined order and perception of the way things used to be. We've always, to our shameful state, you know, relegated people with disability to the lowest order of connection, right? Come on. Let's be authentic here. But these people
certainly have time to teach us.
Yeah, exactly. And Riki, I'll give you a moment in a minute to kind of really, really get into this. But to have these people recognized at their own, you know, at their own kind of ebb and flow of self-expression, that they are doing fine, they're all right, and they're finding like-minded souls, they're finding their tribe online, and they're able to find common ground to co-create in. That's what I'm saying. And that is the process. That is the devotion to the knowing, not the belief. Get that belief out of your head. The belief is the delusion. Getting to understand the knowing that they've always been all right. It's just that the rest of the world hasn't recognized them. But they're being recognized by people that are very, very much in tune with, aligned to, and very much sharing the same code of expression. So your ability to accomplish things is enhanced by you being devoted to the process, as I said. And by involving yourself with total abandon, you can generate miracle behaviour. That's what I witnessed last night. Miracle behaviour, that a television show as dystopian as Twin Peaks has this ability to draw all these disenfranchised people together. So nobody has achieved anything of profound value without being utterly devoted to what they are doing. Yet mediocre results are everywhere. And what happens when when you prescribe to mediocrity? They don't have a foundation, there's no stability, and it falls apart, right? So significant achievements truly only arise from significant devotion. You don't need to dangle a carrot, that is your goal, to create an internal motivation. It's already there. If you stop listening to everybody outside of your perception of where you want to be influence you. Those controlling influences of other people saying, oh, you're mad, don't do it, you need your security. What are you going to do if you just let that go and go over here? This is the miracle, right? This is the miracle that Saturn Pluto is bringing. If you're truly available to receive it, to actually allow your organic receptors to receive the transmission, and then once you receive the transmission, the data set that goes with it, learning how to implement it in your everyday life. Powerful stuff, man. Powerful stuff.
Yeah, I think no more rigid beliefs and more dynamic freedom, because this is what this Uranus is about. It's about freedom, and, it doesn't necessarily mean irresponsibility with freedom, you know what I mean? That's sometimes the thought that can be in people's heads, that being free like that means being reckless or, not having any direction. And that's a totally different thing. And when you let go into your truth and freedom, magic seems to happen, and through those magic moments, connections are made, connections with people, connections with yourself, and being internally also driven within. I just want to say that there's so much that comes from really listening to your heart, and like you say, being committed to truth, being committed to whatever your higher purpose is. And it can change from moment to moment. Tomorrow it might be helping someone that and the next day it might be doing yoga and whatever, and then the day after that might be planting some trees. It's dynamic freedom,
Great.
Being dynamic.
Fantastic. Let's stay with that. Dynamic freedom. That is Uranus, right? If I could say to anybody out there listening, sitting there scratching their head going, I am feeling something, I really don't understand exactly what it is that I'm feeling, and therefore I'm reacting to and expressing, but it is a real, genuine level of dynamic freedom. That's what you're feeling, whether you like it or not.
I think the message I'm getting now, just coming in with this, is about allowing yourself to try something new, to go out there, not necessarily really totally get out your comfort zone, because, it's about being gentle at times,
Yeah.
But a little bit of getting out the comfort zone, try something new, because obviously the same patterns that we live in, this rigidity, which is not what this is about, with this, Uranus thing, just trying something new and then coming back to what you're working on, because especially with creative blocks and that, and I know a lot of people who've had these creative blocks and musicians and all that, or they feel stagnant in life, working from the state of trying to fix the problem isn't always the answer. You need to sometimes be able to get out of the way and have some experience outside of what you're experiencing, So
experiential opportunity is everywhere if we allow it to. Now, a caveat, if I may. A caveat, if we both may. You're listening to two individuals that are not attached. That's very important to understand. Neither Riki and I are attached with partner, married, in a relationship. Therefore, neither of us have dependents, children as such. Being single And exploring and experiencing that dynamic freedom is a lot easier, and I won't lie, it's a lot easier because you can limit the amount of monkey chatter coming in from the controlling influences in the Maya outside of yourself, because you don't have that kind of codependency. This word codependency is going to become a buzzword in 2020. Most people at some stage over the course of the next 2 to 3 months with these maverick, and I will go into the warning that this is also bringing in a moment. But let's stay in the positive for a little while if we can. We're going to hear this word codependency. You're going to hear in conversations, oh God, why is she so codependent on me? Can't she live her own life? Or why do I have to be there to hold his hand, going to this festival or being at this particular event? I mean, part and parcel of becoming mature and wise in this life is to experiencing things for yourself. Oh, this damn codependency. You're going to hear a lot of it. Because we only know that because it's been part of our need to be part of community. Well, community is great when it serves a collective purpose, right? When there is everybody pulling together like this in these, what they call these eco villages, right? Everybody arrives with probably exactly the same thing, which is 10/5 of fuck all, right? They do. Pretty much the shirt, a guitar in their hand, a couple of pots and pans, a backpack, and some 2-minute noodles, more or less. That's what it boils down to. And then they draw their whole ideology of their community around being grateful to be on the land. Okay, so there is a goal there, but it's a goal that comes from them becoming devoted to supporting it. Are you with me? Okay, you with me? Okay, so once they're doing that because they're supporting the main reason that they're all there together, the miracle of expansion through that support begins to manifest. The codependency is no longer codependency. It just means that we're all working together. It's a unified conscious space. Now, if you can...
That's the difference.
Exactly, brother. Now, if you are in a conversation where somebody is playing the victim card of codependency around you, and then you turn around and you say to them, well, what about instead exploring this from a co-creative space? That you both bring something to the table, that you both share something that you're passionate about, that you have a real kind of a liberating outlook on, right? You feel liberated by exploring these things, and you bring them together and you make that a stronger version of the whole, because two halves don't make a whole, right? Two half hearts, right? Two estranged hearts brought together does not make a whole heart. We're fragmented in that outlook. And this Saturn-Pluto conjunction that you're going to hear me go on and on and on and on about, because it hasn't happened in 500 years, is essentially showing us that through experiential action and opportunity. And it's really important to recognize it, because it means that you are also now doing what I consider, and I feel very alone in this to a greater degree, but I consider that the greatest gift that we can create for our species and co-create for our species right now is to shift our perspective of language. That's it. Right? Redefine language, the way we communicate with each other, the way we use certain words, descriptors, phrases, whatever you want to call it, in order to communicate. Redefine that, and we will change the planet forever. Rickster.
That's beautiful. I think, the thing with the languages is because I remember now the Pleiadian message. I don't know if you saw that video, Mike, but it was pretty cool when it came out, and they were saying about, humanity running on the same frequency for eons, and it's the same with the language. Like, language can be beautiful, as we know, in music, and I think that, because of the consciousness that humanity's been in, it's just been a sort of 3D level language, and now we're finding we can stitch together in the 4D and beyond, the whatever, I don't like putting labels really so much on things like 4D and 5D or whatever, just a more, illuminated and higher vibration of language is available, and from that language, people understand more what the other person's saying, and there's so much miscommunication with our language as well, and obviously there is such thing as telepathy, and there is such thing as sensing how another person is, and how another person feels, and where they're at, and what type of being they are, whether you can trust them. I mean, as you get more sensitive, all these things, become stronger. But at the same way, language is the way we talk with each other generally these days. So, I mean, I totally agree. And once this, which is, very powerful, and it will shape the way people, can't really explain any better than that at the moment, but.
You're dropping out, Riki. I'm just hearing you kind of having a bit of a splutter. I'll just check your connections and stuff, and I'll go a bit more forward. Let's go back to this whole understanding of the process. We're all processing. We experience something, we process it. We draw a conclusion from the process that we go through. We decide whether or not to store that in our memory bank so that we can become immediately responsive to a circumstance by drawing from our archive. Okay? That's the old way of living life in the 3D, living life in a lower vibrational state. Your excitement, your intention to live a beautiful, intense, passionate, significant life is the fuel that sustains you all day. Now, how do you do that if it's not about, well, I've got to have an expectation, and and I got to round that off in a goal, and then I got to put all my energy into that so I can maintain my goals, because I was always told that if I write my goals down on a piece of paper, then that's the universe that's going to recognize that, and it's going to make that happen. And as I already said earlier, it's a crock of shit. But we all were very, very much dragged into the conception and deception that was. So if we've said that devotion is replacing goal setting, right? So during this powerful Saturn-Pluto conjunction, this incredible transit, refrain, if you can. There's no such thing as can and can't. Just refrain, right? Just be mindful from focusing on the end results. Okay? Just focus on what matters to you most. Focus on joyful engagement, what you're doing at any given moment in time. Always be grateful. Always express the gratitude principle, because you've got a lot to be grateful for. Please, cut yourself some slack. Slow the fuck down and allow yourself to just be in the ebb and flow of divine ease and grace. Now, if you
it takes a lot of energy to keep doing things, you know, to this drive, because the drive is from a feeling of lack, and that drive takes a lot of energy.
So we've got to stop that, right? We've got to move away from this lack thereof. I don't have the things that I want. Look at the term there.
Yes,
I don't have the things that I want. You have just totally, right? You've circumvented every possibility of achieving that by being very, very much in an egoic expression of self. I don't have, right? Wow, I don't have.
Mike, I just want to say, to put this into perspective, that there's a lot going on the planet right now, as we know, and consumerism and everything we've been doing, you know, me. This is not to say that there isn't a place for me, because there is, you know, like, obviously, you know, we deserve certain things and we need certain things to live, and it's nice for someone like me to have a set of speakers and a stereo, you know, and all this stuff. But slowly, right now, with all the stuff that's going on the planet and the destruction and all that, you know, we really need to be thinking about slowing down, like you say, and you know, and not being so goal orientated, unless the goal actually serves a higher purpose, because we haven't got time for messing around.
Couldn't agree with you more. We haven't got time. And even though we know time is illusory, we still need some measurement so that we, in the 3D, remember, we're multidimensional beings living a linear Earth existence, to learn how to transcend the limitations and boundaries we create for ourselves so that we can rewrite our future and move to a higher octave of self-expression. This reaches our potential, and this allows us to connect to First Source. This is why we are on this journey on the planet. Agreed?
Yeah, we're evolving as a collective.
Absolutely. Now, part and parcel of that is having to deal with time. Knowing in our construct, in the very, very essence of our being, that we don't have the time, because look at the horrible natural anomalies taking place on our planet. You know, more intense earthquakes, more intense flooding, more intense fires, more intense, you know, tsunamis, more intense, everything intensified. And within the intensification lays the deeper deception. So we're being forced to look at time as one that is like an hourglass running out of it. That's not what we need to be anymore. We don't need to worry about that. The external will take care of itself. But nothing will take care of you unless you nurture and nourish what you deem to be important to you. What is your conscious focus? Where are you expanding from? This is why I've come to the...
It's about energy.
It's all about energy, as Greg said last week. You know, it's just the different forms of, you know, energetic expression, what we call different fields, quantum fields that energy expresses itself in. Toroidal fields are one that are ever expansive, meaning that as it draws more energy into the core center of focus, it becomes a much wider spread expression of it.
Yeah, we're using so much energy at the moment as a species, and I think this is why it's so important to manage our own personal energy and to know what do we put our energy onto. And, you know, obviously on a personal level, that's important because a life is only a limited amount of time, and it's absolutely beautiful. And of course, when you do start following your heart, you just feel all these possibilities and you feel blessed to be here and, you know, aligned and all that. But on the other level, in regard to our impact in this lifetime living here, you know, you want to know that you didn't just waste energy willy-nilly, you know, and I think that's all of our responsibility now to manage our energy inside so that we're no longer taking energy from other people, draining them because we have a lack, but finding balance in ourselves, and being mindful of the energy we take with electricity and all the different fuels that we use. So in the sense of becoming more empowered and more filled up within ourselves, it's beautiful because we no longer need to take so much energy from the external. And food wise as well, with food, we're managing our body system more. We're not addicted, we're not dependent, and all that codependency thing comes in with it. True relationship with others is about helping the other come into their own power, not them needing you or you needing them, So yeah, energy is really, really important at the moment. And I think for 2020, it's going to be, that's one of the key words, but people are looking just on the outside, but really we're talking about managing our own energy as well. We've got to look at how we're using our energy.
Well, look, I think what you just said then is how you are going to navigate this incredible transit of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is upon us right now, if you're not doing the work, it is going to be a nightmare, right? I'm going to put it right out there now. It is going to fuck you up, okay? It's going to fuck you up. And I'll tell you why, right? I'll actually state in its most clinical, right, form and rationale that I possibly can. So Saturn and Pluto have spent 2019 at the end of their cycle that began in 1982-1983. And as they have moved direct and retrograde within a range of a conjunction, they've dredged up old personal patterns and cultural material that we need to address, integrate, contemplate, and clear out. When they form their first exact conjunction at 23 degrees, and 23 degrees is as intense as you get in the zodiac of Capricorn on January 12, 2020, they will initiate a new cycle, shifting the emphasis into forging new forms and structures, well, we don't like that word terribly, but anyway, that support the purpose that we, up to this point, have cultivated. There is nothing easy about dealing with experiences related to Saturn and Pluto, but the cathartic intensity they force us to endure aids in developing inner focus, determination, and courage. At times we must resiliently persist in the face of opposition, and at other times we must learn to surrender to elements of life out of our control and nurture feelings of grief caused by loss. We must face our traumatic experiences that are symptomatic in nature, because if we don't do that and we don't face our darker shadow self, it will consume us. It will lock us in to a mutant thought and focus that the old system is safe and secure and I need to cling to it because it's what I know, and I don't want to necessarily venture into the Garden of Eden because it's filled with all of this fear-embodied assets and aspects. So I'll never grow, I'll never truly develop, I'll never truly be able to, leave the comfort zone that I've created for myself, and so I might as well be frozen, limbo, and just forgotten. Saturn and Pluto will begin their cycle in January 2020 as part of a stellium in Capricorn, and that includes Jupiter. Jupiter is the all-expansive planet, while Capricorn is about getting it done. Conjoining the south node of the moon in Capricorn, as well as the Sun, Saturn, Pluto, Ceres, and Mercury, all together within 2 degrees of Capricorn. In fact, the day after Saturn and Pluto unite, both Saturn and Pluto will form a conjunction with the Sun and begin new snidotic cycles. Therefore, January 2020 will be an incredibly potent period in which to plant the seeds of what you want to develop far beyond the new year, utilising January not only for making, I hate this word, resolutions in the new year or the year ahead, but for the next 5 years. That's how long this motherfucker's going to be around. Once you have clarified your ultimate ambitions, you can begin prioritising which shorter-term goals will be most important to implement and how to best sequence them during the course of 2020. Now, it goes on and on and on and on, but bottom line, the big title at the very top of the page says, exploring, recognising and reconciling the deepest shadow that is you. What are your thoughts, Riki?
For one, I feel, again, like when we get into the flow, you know, and we're doing what we're here to do, in some way it's satiating the ego and the shadow, you know. So I'm not to say avoid shadow work, but I'm to say that we need the balance, you know. And I know a lot of people, especially in the spiritual circles, who are thinking that this idea of work and it's got to be hard and, you know, we've got to go through the mud. And I've said that, you know, because I did have a very difficult, you know, 11 years recently, you know, and it was hard, and you do learn a lot through struggle and all that, you know. But I'm just wanting to say that we need to be able to approach the shadow from a balanced state, you know, and not feeling like, you know, we're heroes if we work hard, but work at our own pace, because we're our own judges of our work, you know.
Yeah.
And so obviously, yeah, I hear what they're saying about the shadow work's very needed, but from this space in 2020, I feel like we're coming from a more gentle space. We're not trying to force anything. We're not trying to force ourselves to heal our shadow, you know, and all that, or you know, work with our shadow or allow it or whatever, you know. But obviously, the traumas and everything we've experienced, we know that they create a monster shadow, you know, and these parts of us, they're calling out for recognition and love, you know. They're calling out for help. So it's about being able to stop and listen, you know, being able to either meditate or, you know, we don't need to always be taking in information. There's too much information out there as it is. You know, for one person, we need to be able to listen. And, you know, for me, in this year, it's about listening to not only what I'm saying, listening to, you know, the pains and the shadow, but also listening to my ancestors, which is quite interesting because I have obviously people who died before who are wanting to communicate and help me here. So it's like having friends, but they're friends in spirit, obviously. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that, you know, it's about listening, and it's about, because we've not been listening, you know, we've been so doing that we've not been listening. And until you stop and actually truly listen, and many of us go our entire life on this planet not even having that experience, you know, of listening, because obviously everyday life often gets in the way, you know.
It does.
Things we've got to do to survive, but you know, we need to find time to listen and balance and nurture, you know. And I think that is the shadow work, you know. And yeah, the pains matter, you know, but we don't need to go delving in there like, you know, with a massive sword saying I'm gonna whatever, you know. We need to be able to gently allow it to happen, you know. The laws of nature work in a gentle way, you know, in that space.
They do, Riki. But let's stay. Let's be real. If someone turned around to you tomorrow, right, and let's, because I am you and you are me, we are mirror reflections of each other in this particular this astral soup. Let's call it the astral soup, okay? because until we have truly evolved and we return to a more etheric and more spirit state, we're still basically astral bodies, aren't we? Floating around in the chaos magic that is the 3D or the 4D world. But if someone came up to you tomorrow and said, "Hey man, we've been working together for a while, and you're in this department and I'm in this department, and our job descriptions have an expectation that we need to interact and we need to work together and we need to be in the same space." So that's the scene. And this individual turns around to you and says, "Riki, I've just got to say that while I'm going through the motions here, and I'm allowing, whatever has to be in order to fulfill my obligation to a codependency here in this workspace, I don't like you. I just don't like you. I find your outlook on the world and your way of expressing yourself and your whole kind of, highfalutin ideals about the fact that, you don't believe that we need to, have responsibility and hold down a job and be, meaningful members of society, and that it's all about, your connection to the divine and so on and so on. You get the general picture. Mm. And you are told to your face that is the case, rather than someone masquerading, wearing a mask, and, going through the motions and smiling through the vehement hate they have for you or whatever like that. In other words, putting on the airs and graces to get them through the moment. What would your answer be? Tell me, in light of everything that's going on in the world, where do you think you would sit in what reactionary state?
What's funny is because this person's being open and, and as long as the energy isn't coming forward as like, get the hell out of my space, whatever, but they're actually being truthful and, they're just being honest and not, trying to make you feel bad or whatever, then I think that's good, and it's like, well, thanks for telling me, you're entitled to your opinion, and I wouldn't react, because I like myself.
Yeah, good.
I don't need validation from external sources, which is a really beautiful place to be in, because, to love yourself and, like the same with my music, like if I used to need applause and, I used to need the positive approval and that, but now, the criticism, if it's there, it's welcomed, and I take it on, I mean, not maybe take it in if it's doesn't seem true, but I'm willing to receive whatever anyone's bringing in general, but if they come forward with an aggressive sort of energy behind it or a big imbalance, then it's harder not to react to, it's because of the way it's coming forward, so, but I mean, when people are coming forward with the idea of being authentic and being honest with you, then that's a brave thing, and I respect that in itself. And, so there's a certain element of respect for this person who's come forward and said this, even though, by all rights, a person would normally be like, well, I don't like you, what's up with you? React to them.
Exactly. So in short, what you've done there, and this is very reflective again of the three very powerful photon energies. These are photon energies, meaning they are affecting our cellular structure. They are illuminating. I can't remember the name of the word. It's some scientific word, but it's the water. It's the water molecules within the cellular ambiotics or whatever you want to call it that is allowing us to reprogram our cellular structure and memory without the same attachments, without the same programmed outlook. In other words, you just stated that you wouldn't let that situation define you, right? You wouldn't immediately go and play the victim card, draw yourself into a pain body by reacting with a sheepish kind of, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way and whatnot. Instead, in your sovereign power and, you know, knowing who you were and being strong in it, you said, oh, well, thanks for telling me, man. Now that I know, is this finite and absolute in your book, son, or is there any way, or what are the means by which we could potentially find a compromise to make this work? Now you've got a conversation.
Yeah, rather than just a reaction and let's walk our separate ways, or actually after this I'm going to go and talk to the boss and like badmouth you.
That's it. Now let's go even more into the now and talk about it with regard to women and relationships, right? The problem with the old mutant way of duality is that circumstance, when stated to a female, would immediately garner some form of distorted emotional reaction. Now, don't be scared to say, oh, I don't know, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But predominantly, yes, it would. And the reason for that is that they don't know any better. But they are learning to define themselves without their need to be in a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Without being beholden to the patriarchal ideal of a man or a partner in their life. That's what the interdependence that women are expressing and experiencing more and more. But there is definitely a distorted lens through which it's being expressed and it's being presented. Now, men in this new day and age, and I'm not being patriarchal here, I'm not being, one-sided in any way, shape or form. I'm simply stating facts here. And I'm not stating this for every certain, male soul and versus every female soul. I'm saying in a general speak, based on my experience, and I'm asking Riki based on his experience, that predominantly we would prefer an authentic response trigger to a genuine question rather than wearing some form of mask or playing out some masquerade where we're trying not to hurt someone's feelings, where we're trying to, we're trying to betray our own sense of our own self-confidence by kowtowing and becoming rather subservient to the situation. Come on, man.
It takes a lot of guts to really, to really speak your truth. And I think for a lot of us, there's a fear of abandonment under there. So it's like, well, if I say this thing that is supposedly negative about someone, if I speak my truth on what I feel about something, then, this person may ultimately not like me anymore. So again, that's the fear of isolation. That's just one example I've had from my life, And so, we're really taught not to be authentic. And there's a way to deliver things in a way which doesn't trigger someone, that they will listen to you. And we're responsible often for the way other people react around us. That is... we need to be responsible enough to realise that if we're going to go in there and be too much of a dick, then people are going to respond, And, I'm aware, in regard to a lot of the women that the emotions seem to be, they were meant to be emotional originally, but it's like it's taking them over, the pain body in an unnatural way these days, But I also think that because a lot of women have had to be so tough and so strong and not be the beautiful female that they are, it's created an imbalance, you know. So, and the same with the males, you know, a lot of males are not so much in their masculine strength now, you know, and there's that disempowerment, you know. So we're just not being authentic in many different ways, you know. And but I love the fact that once you know what's going on, the whole dynamic changes, you know. And these accords of attachment that we create with people, you know, are they're often there because we're not being authentic, you know, we're not being true. But as soon as you're true with someone, the energy shifts, and then you see them in a new light, you know, you see them clearly for who they are, sort of thing. And any illusions, doubts you had about them almost start to go, because, you know, that authenticity has opened up a clear, true communication between the two of you.
I love that, man. I think that's really, really, really sensitively well put. I'm sorry if I'm not the same. I just want to. I just can't help it, man. I mean, we talk about authenticity, we talk about transparency, we talk about being the true you, and that has to come with warts and all, because it's going to take a lot of practice in this new parallel reality, in this new deeper density of emotional expression, for us to redefine what's important. We don't have to redefine ourselves. Nothing has changed when it comes to ourselves. But we do need to redefine the way we present, the way we perceive, and the way that we predominantly, you know, experience each other, and take something away from that experience. You know, one of the things that is become increasingly clear since we started doing these live streams in the private messages that I'm getting is, you know, you guys are always talking very, very much about the more collective experience, about, you know, how these circumstances that are happening in the world are going to infect and affect other people. We'd be more interested in learning more about you and why you're doing what you're doing, and how you got here, and what are some of the trials and tribulations that you've been on. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that I had a fantastic conversation with Terry. You know Terry, I've spoken to you about Terry before. And Terry has these, what I call these really powerful cathartic moments of just real clarity, high spiritual value, if you like. And you know, whenever we connect, there's so much going on in his life, you know, and what he's dealing with, because, you know, he has Parkinson's, and he has good days and bad days. Some days his energy is at the lowest possible ebb, and he just can't communicate. He just can't really maintain. And then there are other days when he feels very, very revved up, and he feels empowered, and he's all go, go, go. So you have to give credit where credit's due. And we had this particular connective chat where we were talking about how all these, you know, this multitude of fires are burning the Gondwana land, which is the Aboriginal term for the continent of Australia, literally back to its raw resource, right? Like hundreds of thousands of hectares of land burnt to ash, right? From the ashes reborn, you know, reminds me of a song that I wrote about 3 years ago, From the Ashes Reborn. But from the ashes reborn is the birth of a new world.
Indeed.
Right? And while we were talking through that, and we were talking about how fire purifies, there is a greater sense of purification, getting rid of the stagnant, getting rid of the toxicity and the residue of the old mutant paradigm that we've all been stuck in for so long, to make way for being this powerful, highly sovereign, authentic, you know, individual within a rather larger collective space. And he asked me, once we did that particular banter, So it's been so long since we connected. I know that you actually decided to disconnect from a lot of people while you were going through a consolidation period. But tell me about this new space. Tell me about the journey. Tell me how you got there. How did the government gift you this new unit that I'm so happy in, Riki? It is a beautiful, beautiful house that I have now. It's not this half-assed kind of, dwelling that I've been in over the course of the last couple of years, really. And I told him, and we recorded the conversation, and I listened back to it a few days later, because I always recount things a few days later, and it surprised the shit out of me when I think about what it is that I went through, that the universe and Uranus in particular, in my sign of Taurus for the next 7 years, forced me through, that the hoops that Uranus forced me to jump through in order to bring me to this state where I am now 100% settled. I've beautified my home, which is all what Taurus loves. Taurus loves pleasurable experiences, right? It draws pleasurable opportunity around itself. And I'm going to share that tomorrow on the podcast, on the Sunday night podcast. We release a new podcast for the 7-day cycle each new week. And I've decided to release that conversation with a little preface from me at the beginning, letting people know how we got to that state, so that people can kind of understand a little bit about the way that I work. It's a confrontational discussion in a lot of ways because, I did speak a lot about the rather disempowering experience I had with the government and the government departments and Social Security and, housing authorities and all that kind of thing. But it really does demonstrate miracles. Right? It's a miracle. Right? That's a miracle. That is a living, breathing miracle to come out the other end of all that dysfunctionality, all of those highly addicted people, all of those really lower vibrational states of spiritual distortion with the guru and the ashram and the moonies. They call them devotees, but I call them the moonies. We would just sort of, look up moon-faced, smiling in a hypnotized state to everything that's being told to them and just going, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. This is what this new planetary transit is all about. Recognizing that we have the ability, once we become more experiential, once we become a true expression of our highest octave of transmitting our true intention to the universe, we become miracle workers. We become Christ. We become God. We become Jehovah. We become Yahweh. We become whatever the fuck, Pardon me.
Mike, I think, this thing about walking alone, don't be afraid to walk alone is the message. But the funny thing is you start off doing that and basically you walk away from that which is unhealthy, in various ways. And you seem to be alone for a while. But the thing is, you've made that effort to do that, and the universe will then, you've closed one door again and you've opened another door, and the universe will bring forward, the people that are right in the capacity that's right for you. So it really is about, going,
thanks, man,
following our intuition, going our own way without being too worried about, the fact that the herd might not be, going the same way.
It's well said too, because at the end of the day, there is isolation, there is solitude, there is a sense of aloneness, there is a sense of the lone star, making the journey. But I think it makes you stronger. I think it makes you stronger because it allows you the opportunity to view it through the lens of everything is medicine, right? Every opportunity, every experience, every scenario, every connection is medicine if you allow it to be medicine. it has a nurturing and nourishing quality to it if you allow it to be nurturing and nourishing. It can be poison just as easily in a completely polarized respect if that's what you want it to be.
This is about, when things have reached their sell-by date and when it's time to move on, And I think, it goes back to trusting ourselves again. The more we trust ourselves, the more we know that we'll know when things time up, when the time is up with certain elements in our life and when to move on. And I think that's really cool because we're not attaching to any experience with that. And this is the one message coming through from me is that, it's about finding that center of the universe within us. And, life is a bit like a game, like Bill Hicks was saying, about it's a roller coaster ride, to enjoy and not to get too seriously involved with it. And I think we really at this stage want that central space within us where we are happy within ourselves. We're not looking for the external to save us, anything, whether that's, a leader, someone else, a friend, a partner, money, whatever, but actually really, really creating that central core like a tree with its roots, deeply in the ground. And then life is a play because, it's like, okay, this experience has come along and I appreciate it for the moment it comes along. I know it might not last forever, so I'm going to truly appreciate this experience, and I love that, things do come and go. Nothing is permanent, and, all structures, because I think structure is still important in this conversation, all structures have their time in which they fall again, So ultimately the only thing we can be totally sure on is that central space within us. That's the only thing we can sort of rely on is the beingness that we are, is stepping into that and becoming the energy that we are rather than being too caught in, future, past, blah, 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 all that stuff. So it's nice once in a while to go back to Eckhart Tolle because he's so good with his Power of Now and A New Earth books and all that, I'm not really looking to external people anymore. That's sort of gone, but when I did listen to him, it was so beautiful because I started to really go within and so we're it's almost like we're our own sort of free energy device. We're our own, I know we can't really just live off air completely, but I know some people get close to it. But point being is that the more energy we create within us, then the less we need from the external. And that's really powerful for the future and for ourselves.
And from the future, right? That's the other thing too, isn't it? What sort of future do you want to have? If there is such a thing as a future, then what do you define it as being? What are the things that you want to see being available to you to contribute to more actively in the future? It's all about the now is the future because
choices now.
Exactly. The choice point of past, present and future is in any given moment. That's what collapsing our wave function or collapsing our particle function is about. Do you want to fall back into a solidified state of the past and then relive a certain expression in reaction to it? Or do you just want to be in the flow of divine ease and grace in the present? Or do you want to draw an event stream from the future to help and support and assist you and your lucid particle expression in the now? It's so easy. It really is easy, guys, if you allow it to be. But so many find it really, really hard to let go. Letting go of your safety net. Letting go of your security. Oh no, it's cool. I've already set my goals. I've set my intentions. I'm sticking to it. I'm all about attracting that. That's the power of attraction. It's the law of one. It's the conversation I'm having with God. Fine. But that doesn't work in the new parallel reality. That doesn't work on today's timeline. We're split. Haven't you realised it yet? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Well, why can't people understand that they're not on the same timeline? Right? the world is on... Sorry, go on.
I just thought it's good you saying it as it is.
I'll just say this. The world perceives that we're on the same timeline because all it sees is, we see all this crap going on with Mike Pence and Trump, and the impeachment, and then Trump goes and has an Iranian general, murdered, and then the missiles go into the sky, but they don't go anywhere. It's all fear-mongering. It's not going to end up anywhere bad.
We don't have the time to put the energy into that as a species. There might be people who, if you understand that world, because I personally don't, I'm not into politics, so, and I don't understand the world of the military, all these different things. I suppose if you're interested in it, then maybe. But for most people who are trying to live a life following their heart and that, so much is distraction. So much. And you want to know that when you die, that you really gave it your best shot here, and not in the sense that we need to be anxious to accomplish things, but that we realised all these illusions, that we realised, well, as much as, I might be upset about the fact that, the world's gone crazy and, these presidents are insane and, the global corporations are doing this and they're manipulating us and all this stuff. As much as that is going on, I've learnt that, okay, what now? I'm going to go back into nature and I'm going to, do something nurturing, that is actually bringing some positivity in the world, or I'm going to, play with my children, or, people are getting so seriously caught up about these things, and it's become serious, and that seriousness in itself is like this perpetual sort of bloody void or tornado that we're getting wrapped into, the drama of the politics and all that, So, this is just my opinion of it, and this is why I'm backed off from it, because I just see a lot of these things as distractions, and, we as a human collective, we need to put our energy into planting trees, into, creative solutions to things,
Yeah, man.
Because as a whole, we're more powerful than the elite anyway, so,
Well,
that's how I feel.
What we're recognising, as I stated in last week's podcast, is that by looking at the human genome, right, the genetic template, the original blueprint, Homo erectus, and at one stage we defined ourselves with a core a core cosmic channel in the form of our spine, through which there were all these different attached centers, spinning centers known as chakras, that helped us draw cosmic energy, light source, into the construct, fill it with light so that it would express only light, but instead were taught through different doctrines and dogma that our experiences created negative blocks through traumatic expressions, which then inhibited the flow of cosmic energy. So all of a sudden we were taught that we had to do Kundalini breathing, left and right nostril, rapid breathing, that would pretty much send so much air into the brain that you'd pass out. So what a fucking stupid thing that was. And then all these other kind of, practices in order to purify our whole kind of body grid so that we were a closer embodiment of God and a closer embodiment of the true source of light. Now, on the parallel timeline, in this new, higher density planar reality, there are no chakras, there is no meridian, there is no cosmic crystalline channel, there is no decompartmentalized thought construct. It's all just one great big kind of bag of air, right? There's nothing that is bigger, better, more altruistic, more intrinsically aligned than anything else. That's not what we are anymore. That is us, like the indigenous of the world, whether it's the Aymara from Peru, whether it's the Inca, whether it's the Maya, whether it's the Phoenicians, whether it's, the Hopi. They all talked about that once you dissolved your need to define who it is that you were, your soul, the essence, the life force that you are, began to radiate the 13 rays of the rainbow. The serpent energy becomes full circle. And that is really what we've been talking about. That is that whole kind of new sense of expression, that new higher octave of transmission. And we're receiving. Stop the bloody giving. The giving is over. There's no need to give anymore. It's about receiving and implementing it within so that we can all move forward at exactly the same frequency. Does this make sense to you?
It does pretty much. I mean, obviously, giving, when you say giving, it's not the same as on a higher level allowing energy to come through. I mean, for instance, when I was helping my mum the other day, I wasn't trying to expend energy to try and give. It was allowing the universe to work through me.
Through you.
Mm.
Yeah,
that's it. So I'm not really actually having to, to do anything. I'm not trying to, force my energy to try and help someone or whatever. And yeah, in my general life, I'm receiving a lot, but that's not about being greedy and like, it's about receiving to allow yourself to align with the universe so that you are of greater benefit to yourself and those around you through your beingness, not necessarily through your doing,
Right on, man. Absolutely. So I hope that what we've done tonight is we've been able to dissect that if we really open our heart space, if we allow love's liberating light and intention to fill our core, our beingness, then we can just trust that the universe will support us, will assist us, will give us the confidence we need to move our ship forward. Even though, as I said at the beginning, we're on a deck and we're blindfolded, right? How great is it to feel as if we're not relying on the illusory sense that is sight and the illusory sense that is hearing, right? We've developed this new seventh sense, this higher octave that allows us to communicate on a much larger telepathic level.
It's about communicating with the universe. If I can just get this in at the end here, because this was on my notes at the end, So, we're allowing the universe to communicate with us, and in that sense, life should be effortless, really, because this was a program put into us, this idea of work hard, struggle, like toil, and I know many people who still have that strongly in their energy field, and it's got so deep within them that it's affected their body system, and you can see it as in tension in their muscles, because the muscles, respond, But, I think it's about, at the moment, getting out of the way, of like we've been saying a few times, trying to control everything, having an agenda, and allowing the universe to work with us. And I just wanted to say what I've written down here was about structure, because, we started off talking about rigidity and structure,
Go for it, man.
And, I just wrote down here that natural laws of nature.
Hello?
Other things,
Riki,
and
you
to
dropped.
align with
Riki,
that is the natural way,
You dropped out. Just go again from where you started. Just start again.
Yeah. So natural laws of nature have a structure, and to align with that structure is natural. Like sacred geometry and all those things. You can see it in the universe. There's a sort of pattern or an order to things. Of the universe. man tries to create his own order, not realizing that the laws of nature are the fundamental laws of reality. So obviously when you start trying to, go against that and control, you are actually putting yourself out of sync with reality, out of sync with nature, So the whole word allowing means to, in this sense, means to allow the universe to work with us. And in that state, it's like, for instance, with my music in the past, I would be thinking, right, okay, I'm going to buy the recording gear, I'm going to record this album, I'm going to get this done, and I've got 5 months to do it, And when I did that, I was so caught on trying to get it done that I was no longer in the flow. But in this new state, it's like, okay, I'm going to do the songs, I'm going to enjoy myself, I'm going to let the songs happen. I'm not even going to try hard to make it happen because they'll come together. And because I'm doing my divine gift, because I'm completely in my flow, in a few months' time, I'm going to end up in a studio, which is better than the stuff that I bought anyway and spent my, got into debt buying it,
Awesome,
and
man.
all that time, all that struggle, and that. And because I'm in my divine flow, I'm attracting these experiences to me. And so instead of the normal law of attraction where you're just trying to, mentally think about it all the time and, draw these experiences by thinking positive, yet deep inside you might feel unworthy or whatever, which obviously feeling unworthy is a block to receiving. Instead of all that, we're actually, getting into our own creative flow and realizing that we are great. And because we're so buzzing so high, it's sorted, you can't go wrong. You can't, because the universe is going to work with you because, well, it wants to work with all of us anyway. I mean, that's the natural law of nature. The universe wants to work with us. So it's more about how do we get out of the way of trying to control it how we think we see fit, based on fears and based on ideas and programming from childhood movies, all these different things that makes us, have this strong desire to have these things. And, more about getting in that flow, trusting that everything will fall into place. And I know that this is happening because I'm starting to feel like my planets are lining up. This is a metaphorical speak here. My planets are lining up, and it means that I don't even have to try. Like the more you, in any moment you do what you're supposed to do, what you need to do or whatever serves your soul, there's no struggle to it anymore. You don't even have to try because these experiences will come along. The universe can't help but work with you. People will be attracted to, the right people will be attracted to you, because what you're putting out is of what's the word? Is of vibrancy and health and of radiance, of pure energy,
Absolutely.
So that's what it's about. It's about completely reworking your life to align with your soul, with nature, with the laws of reality, rather than the laws of man, because they're out now. It's like we're aligning ourselves with a bigger picture.
Absolutely. And how blissful is it, man? I mean, that's the thing, Here we are, okay, it's like 3:15 in the morning here for me, and over there, what time is it there? It's probably close to what, 3 in the afternoon?
4:13.
4:13, yeah. I've just been talking to Ronaldo here, and he's really digging the vibe of it. He's from the UK as well, but he said next time we're on every Saturday night for the live stream, Ronaldo, just so you know. Sunday morning for me, but Saturday for you guys. And feel free to call in and start a conversation. We really would like everybody to know that we're open source here, and we don't care where the direction takes us as long as we're all co-creating together.
Definitely.
But what you just stated then, Riki, you can just tell just from the tone alone that there's a real sort of, sounding higher kind of frequency to it. I love using this word higher octave, because we're musicians, we understand chordal tones and, you know, and scalar, modular, you know, vibe and all that. But really, all of those things, all of those tones, all of that sound vibration is pretty much, you know, ordered in octaves. And as we move from one octave to another octave, we change the pitch, just like we change the pitch and the tonal resonance of the words that we use, or when we redefine ourselves in the new language, the new meta language, you know. And one of the things that I learned from our incredible conversation last week, you know, when we had both Greg and we had Corey, was that we all have so much to say. And we have so much that we are all, you know, presenting in a very, very open and honest way in order to learn from each other. And that is the shift of the pitch and the tonal resonance of the expression, right?
Yeah, the individual has so much to bring, and, you know, it's not about these big companies anymore and what they're, you know, we're trying to influence the collective through, you know, media and all that. This is about that we all have part of the jigsaw puzzle of life. And I'm humble enough to know that, and I like that, you know, that, yeah, I'm going to be listening, you know, when people come into my life to tell me stuff, because, you know, I have a fraction of the understanding in general, you know, in my general waking life. So it's really good to be open to what everyone's saying. And yeah, I just love that. I love that people have their own voice nowadays, and that's the change that's coming. You know, we're moving out of all that bloody Victorian time where children should be seen and not heard, and we're coming into liberation of the of the soul, you know.
Oh, look,
and I don't know what's going to happen, but I love it, you know.
You do know what's going to happen. That's the thing. Consciousness has already played itself out. That's why it's conscious.
On a deeper level, I know what's going to happen, but on a normal human level, you know, I trust that everything will flow. You know, will. It is like being guided. You know, I do feel, and I feel the right to say this. I do feel divinely guided. And I've heard people say that 10 years ago, and I was like, what the fuck? You know, like, what are you on about? You know, and I do think a lot of people were just saying that, you know, they really were.
They were.
A lot of people were just, but I really know that now, because I can feel the well-being. There's a sort of sense of well-being, you know, like, it's almost like, you know, when you're out in the sun and you feel the warmth of the sun all around you, and it's this, you know, you're protected. And,
yep.
And that's a beautiful place to be in, because, you know, and bringing your gifts to the planet is the protection. You know, that's my message to a lot of people listening to this. You know, being in your light, doing what makes you happy is a protection from all manner of, you know, negative influence that may be around you. You know,
yeah, the drama and the maya, right? That's what you're protecting yourself from, because you don't want to, you don't have the time, you don't have the will, you don't have the desire to attach yourself to that drama and that maya. That's the part of the old paradigm, man. That's the old fucking thing, you know?
Yeah, we don't have the time. Like, this is our life, and it's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. So, you know, there you go.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll kind of start to sort of like, you know, wind it towards what to expect. You know, let's look at the what is going to take place. Let's assume that you've done the work, you've stopped worrying about setting the goals, and you're being more experiential in your outlook of things, and you're doing the work, right? You're being diligent, you know, you're committing to your enterprise. You're not just talking about it, you're not just posting about it, you're not being the weekend warrior, you know, and then falling back into the old habituated patterns. So let's say we're all past that, okay? And that we're now in a real kind of the circular river of divine ease and grace, right? Our deeper, tuned in alignment and closer connection to God, whatever that expression is to each one of us. And we've gone through the process of meeting our doppelganger, you know, accepting and acknowledging our shadow self, realizing that our shadow self is just, trapped trauma in the form of karmic imbalances and cords of attachment and emotional, traumatic, blocks from past lives and different incarnations. And we've done all that. Once we've done all of that and we recognize our true sovereign being, our sovereign nature, the oneness that we have with the divine and with source, then this new energy will take care of all of the things that we were once conditioned to have to work alongside, right?
And worry about. And draw stress into and create concerns and or issues and more imbalances, right? And within that, we weren't able to forgive ourselves. So if we can't forgive ourselves, then where can we shift our behaviours and draw self-love into the equation? None of that is even remotely possible. So for many people, it's really about recognising that the old mutant paradigm that was the reflective mirror of you is dead, gone the way of the dodo, fucked off to another, another place. We choose our reality.
Well, it's essentially what it is we collapse in our wave or our particle function, right, that manifests our reality in a solidified form in the physical. So if we've done that work and we're surrounded by the opportunity to, I'm going to use my filter of discernment to decide whether or not I want to attach to that person's drama or not, and liberate myself from it, then you're going to find that life is going to be incredibly easy, right? You will be in the river of divine ease and grace, and you will find flow, and you will galvanize that flow into an incredible alchemical, right, magnetization of everything that you truly want, because you're coming from a detached space. That detached space literally circumvents, it literally polarizes the energy around the delusion, right? Removes any sort of deceptive kind of connectivity and leaves you in that neutral gain space, that whole 0 point energy, which is what 2020 is about. You're in 0 point energy, you're at neutral space, and you're ready to forge forward without any of the old duality framework. Now, isn't that incredible?
It is. I like that space because it doesn't matter whether you win or you lose, because there isn't any losing anyway. You're not dependent on outcome, That's all I've got to say about that. I think it might be cracking up, I'm not sure.
Sorry, we had a little technical glitch there, but we're back. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I know that would probably sound quite profound for a lot. Well, what the hell is he talking about? Shit, that sounds like a lot of jargon to me. But what it simply means is you are not you anymore, right? Just recognize that. If you feel that you're still the old you, if you feel that you're still stuck, if you're still hanging on to the same habituated patterns, if you're still running the same turn of the spiral, if you're not recognizing the shift in the spiral dynamic, change it. Right? Laziness will not see you through. Complacency will not see you through. Safety and security in the knowledge of what you once attached to will not see you through. Because that means that you're hiding. You're not recognizing the truth of where you are and who you are and where it is that you're going to. That's what Uranus is saying. Uranus will not stand for complacency. There are no comfort zones anymore. You can't hide under the bedclothes. You can't go into hermit mode. And I did so much cocooning last year when I was up in bumfuck Corumbong, man. Seriously, right? Because I couldn't stand to actually be in an outside space with other people. Their vibration really, really upset me. It rubbed me up the wrong way just to be listening to people just blah, 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 you know?
But also there was a friction there because you obviously you quit smoking and stuff, didn't you? And
yeah.
You were liberating yourself, and it was, in a way, it does create a friction in the beginning where people thought that you were part of their cult, so to speak, or tribe, you know.
It's fucked up, man. Seriously, fucked up, you know. To be a beacon, and I'm sorry, I am going to use that egoic word. Okay, we've got Shafi. Shafi wants to call in, so hang on, just let Shafi know. You need a headset or mic to call.
It might work without the headset if you've got a phone.
Alright, let's see if it works. Let's see if he does. Well, look, here we go. Hello, Shafi. Can you hear us? Shafi, can you hear us? Oh, same old thing again, man. It's just like, do you have a headset? Okay, and we've got Gurdeep Singh is also wanting to call in. Alright, Gurdeep. Hi, Gurdeep. Can you hear us? Namaste. No, they can't. All right.
Has Corey called in using Podbean before, or is it always on Skype or WhatsApp?
He's been using Skype and WhatsApp, which has given him real clear connection. Look, I don't know what it is, but I think people are just using their phones, and it says at the very outset, if you want to communicate with other people,
right, then
you need to have a mic and a headset, right? It's not something that you can just... It's a trip, man. It's a bit of a bummer, but it's a bit of a trip.
Yeah, we need to confirm that call-in works, I think. Have we had someone call in using the Podbean before?
Yeah.
We'll get that sorted.
Well, look, I'll just say to Shafi, Shafi, if you want to call, use WhatsApp. I don't mind sharing the number, man. Really, I don't. So it's plus 614341555545, and we'll be able to put you on air. Okay. So anybody who wants to call in and have a chit chat, we've still got about another half hour before we get knocked off. We've got a ridiculous amount of people with us at the moment, Riki. It's great, man. Over 50.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to everybody. That's wonderful. So if anybody wants to call in, then, please use the WhatsApp. And that way, no, that's wrong. I've given them a bad number here. Hang on. 61434155555. That's better. Alright, that'll do. Shafi still wants to call in.
Real.
He's from India,
it's been, quite good today. I mean, this says 2 hours, 30 minutes so far, so it's quite a long time to chat for, but I think this is good, and I feel like it's been quite intense at times, but it's nice. I'm just going to wind down. Hopefully someone will call in, and I'm just going to slow myself down a bit as well and see what happens. Bit of deep breathing.
Well, exactly. Look, both Gurdeep and Shafi, I'm assuming they're both from India, and Kombucha also wants to all call in. So we've got all 4 call windows being occupied at the moment, but we can't hear any of the buggers, so sorry about that, dudes. We'll continue. So I think where we're at now is we're talking about what to expect once you've done the work. Blissful. Bubble of joy, grounded in gratitude.
Oh,
and the other thing
and
the other thing you're going to recognise, guys, is if you felt somewhat detached or isolated from the opposite sex, many men do feel that now, because the codependency and the expectation of the opposite sex is very, very unrealistic, and it's rather egocentric in a lot of ways. I think we both agree on that score. Then when you're in this more heightened and more sensitive and more blissful state, you're going to meet women that are definitely more aligned and in tune with your way of thinking. That's what the universe wants you to do. The universe wants you to connect with people, both men and women, that are aligned and in tune with your way of thinking, right? And I know thinking, you know, really, are we really thinking? Most of us are constantly in a state of rote memorization of facts that we see on the internet. So are we really thinking, or are we just kind of, you know, transmitting, you know, data sets and data packets of information? But if we can get over that distortion for a second and just talk openly, that you will meet like-minded people of both sexes once you open your heart to this more blissful state of not being attached in any way, shape or form to the old, you know, I need this in order to balance this, right? There is no more needing anything to balance one thing to make another thing work. Again, that's part of the old duality paradigm. It's part of the old, you know, subservient outlook that no longer serves, right? No longer serves. And Pluto is a planet like Neptune that was only discovered back in the mid-70s. And Pluto is a planet being an outer planet, right? Being more kind of shrouded in a mist of secrecy. It's more about, you know, what lies beneath the veil. Okay? And Saturn is the father of curriculum, right? It sets down the way things are. So it's very defined, and it's very much about order. Yet when you've got Uranus in the mix and the Venus trining to that, sextiling to that, well, then you've got, hang on a minute, no, don't fall into the defined order, and don't listen to the way that the lessons are being laid out, and don't look at the exercise book as the only way to record the answers. Look at a different way, a different outlook, a different perspective. And you'll find that all manner of probabilities and possibilities will result as the way you collapse your wave function into a lucid state of heightened conscious expansion and expression. I love that. I love that. A lot of people, you know, sit there and go, I don't get it. What does it mean? Well, if you look at atoms, right? Atoms and molecules, or protons, neutrons, electrons, that's what makes up electrical charge, right? Yeah? Riki? Yeah?
Yeah, with you.
Okay, so that's what makes up electrical charge. And if you are like an electrical conduit, if you're like an electrical spark, and all those protons and neutrons and, you know, electrons are bombarding each other simultaneously, million miles an hour, and you're observing those particular atoms doing their thing, then you change the way that they collapse into a form or function.
Which is mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling.
You can actually change atoms.
Yes. But if you're not observing it, right, remember most of us are very much operating from a subconscious program, right? We're triggered all the time by our subconscious saying, no, we've got to do this. Why do we have to do this? No, don't ask why we're doing this, we're just doing this.
Keep you safe.
Well, exactly, you know, it allows the pattern to become solidified, and when things become solidified, they become stagnant and stale.
Yeah, God.
And what you've been through, young Rickster, is anything but stagnant and stale. Right? You know, you're an adventurous motherfucker, man. I mean, the amount of exchanges that you and I have shared in the course of the last 6 weeks while you've been pedaling. How many miles did you do on the bike?
I don't know, over probably 1,500 kilometres, or more, I don't know. I'd have to recount it, but it's good. My need to recount and, you know, say, well, I did this, blah, 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 is gone. But yeah, it's good though, isn't it? It's good living a life where you don't have to stay in the box all the time, where, you know, you can experience all these, and you're open to possibilities. You know, it's lovely. It's so much more refreshing than being caught going round and round, you know?
It is. And who does that though? Who wakes up and says, I'm going to cycle 1,500 miles from one country to another country in order to... Come on, man.
Yeah, although for me it was about, you know, finding my heart and, you know, direction and you know, let's detach from what we're so used to being normal. You know, let's experience the wind and the elements, you know, that obviously really, it's real. You know, it's real. It's taking you out of your stagnant house energy and getting really out there, you know, and yeah, the answer was, you know, do what your gifts are. That was the answer to my questions of, you know, what should I do next in life? Well, the answer was one, to just totally realise that every experience has beauty in it, you know, and to enjoy the ride of life, but also, you know, do my music and do what you call healing, but we don't have another word for healing yet, but which is, you know, obviously helping empower others and watch them go into their full potential, rather than being a guru and saying I know all the answers, which is just, you know, I think humour, you know, when we get these humorous moments in these conversations, Mike, that is a higher energy. Humour is, you know, it's a true thing, and we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously, you know.
Exactly, man, exactly. You know, and we've got Ronaldo just saying, hey guys, this is spooky how much this relates. Cool, man, that's what it's about. You know, we're like-minded. We're all multidimensional beings that are now experiencing our true multidimensionality. In a way, if you really want, we have this ability to communicate with each other without using, you know, words, expression.
Mm-hmm. And that is going to be developing more. So, like what you were saying about what is it going to look like, yeah, we will be more sensitive to understanding others without words. You know, we'll have an intuition to do certain things at certain times, you know, and we won't be doubting ourselves as much anymore. You know, gone is the self-doubt, and more is the understanding I know what I'm doing, and I know that all the decisions I'm making are leading me to my destiny or destination, and, you know, bugger trying to force make it happen, because I'm done with wasting my precious energy on stuff that doesn't serve
exactly
the path, you know.
I couldn't agree with you more. I really couldn't, man. I mean, you know, this is exactly what this maverick change, this incredible conjunction is bringing, you know. And I really hope that everybody that's tuned in tonight has got something out of this particular broadcast. I think that we've covered some really, really powerful areas tonight. And it'll be well worth doing what's called a repeat of the broadcast. So we'll obviously work out a time when we can do that. Anybody out there that is interested in a full MP3 copy of the entire live stream from start to finish, if you share your email address with us, which of course, you know, we keep confidential, we'll send you a copy of that via WeTransfer. And
I'll also, I'll just say I'll send it, I'll upload it to awakening.earth. It's not .com, it's awakening.earth. And these live broadcasts will be relayed there as well on a YouTube video on the site. So
I'm just putting it in there now. Awakening.earth, yeah?
That's the one.
Okay, there it is. So you can check this stuff out on awakening.earth. And any sort of closing comments before we wrap up? We always get kicked off about this stage because Podbean allows us a certain amount of lifetime on air. So and I think we've given people plenty to think about, to feel into, and whatnot, and to embrace that the next 24 to 48 hours of your life is going to be all defining. So just trust. Get on board that ship, blindfold yourself, and if you've got a partner or if you've got a few mates, blindfold them as well. Stick them on the front of your ship. Let go from the dock and just seamlessly drift wherever the universe takes you, because it knows exactly where it is you need to be. Just trust in that, right? Trust in the liberating light, the love and liberating light in that. Maybe what we could do to finish up, Riki, is talk about, hang on, just let Ronaldo know that we're wrapping. So welcome, bro. Would you like to kind of offer any sort of closing comments around redefining the expression of emotion, and in particular Love 3.0? Anything you want to say about
it? Just that, from my understanding, it was that in Lemuria, or before the fall of man, so to speak, into the lower density, that anything that was so-called emotion did not have that manipulative, energy to it. Because obviously, if I express to you, Mike, something that's true from my heart, there would be emotion there, yeah. But that emotion is a more true emotion. It's not coming from the manipulated or the unconscious pain always. It's coming from just the truth. It's like I said to someone that you're very beautiful. I said the other day, and I had tears in my eyes when I said it, because it was very true, and I thought it was very good showing the emotion.
Awesome.
Because
awesome.
People don't do that. Like this, we're so not able to show that element, but it's that element. It's that when you've got tears in your eyes, that the person sees that and they go, "Wow, this guy means it. He means what he's saying." And that goes in deeply into them, and they know that what you're on about. And some people really need that. They need that authentic connection. So, I still feel there's that authentic level to it, but of course there's the negative side to it, which is the dramas and the being pulled about by our emotions, pulled about by our fears, pulled about by our fears of rejection, our feeling not good enough, and all those emotions, which are they're not the truth. It's like fear, false evidence appearing real. So
there you go.
I feel like whenever anything comes up like that, it's like, okay, breathe into it, acknowledge it, it's gone. Or, if there's some pain underneath, then breathe into it, let your tears flow, it's gone. So it's so important not to attach to these feelings and believe the truth in it. I'll never be good enough, whatever it is that you feel. And I feel so lucky that, that's gone. I don't feel those things very much at all anymore. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it used to be, these things would come in and really lower my energy. And for half the day, the whole day, I could be in this state of, and then, you'd want to eat comfort food to try and make yourself feel better and all that. And to feel like you found a light on the other side, to feel like you're out the difficult stage, I think that's just really beautiful, so that's why I'm doing these conversations with you. It's why I want to share, because I feel I don't feel pulled down anymore. So it's like if I felt those sabotaging emotions, I wouldn't be doing this.
Absolutely, because you see, that's you recognizing that it was a delusion, right?
Yeah, it's not real,
It's not real.
We're all worthy, beautiful beings, so bigging ourselves up in that non-ego way, because it's a reality, we are beautiful, it's not like trying to big yourself up out of a feeling of lack. It's bigging yourself up knowing that it's true, that's beautiful, and then you start to radiate because you know that you're worth good experiences. You know, you're worth whatever. So yeah, emotion. I don't know what else to say about that really, but yeah, it's
that's brilliant,
the
man.
Emotional body.
That's brilliant.
The emotional body's been manipulated, and we've really got to be very discernful about how we go about expressing ourselves. You know, and when we're caught up in the heat of negative emotions, we need to be mindful of not just getting into reaction with people, which is hard, and I've not mastered that yet. But I'm getting there, and I accept myself that I'm not perfect with it yet.
Absolutely. And believe me, man, when you say that you haven't mastered it, there aren't many on the planet that have. Because, when you tune your emotions, right, when you consciously tune your emotions, then you have this ability to align to your closer connection to God, right? You can bring yourself closer to God because you're not wrapped up in some form of, expectations forced on by the emotional body. It's
hard for people.
It is very hard, but you can do it. You can redefine. One of the things that I'd like to wrap up with by saying is that in my meditation, which I take very seriously, I consider just being able to center and just be kind of, integrate these higher illuminated solar light codes is a meditation in itself. But I ask to demonstrate in the physical more compassionate strength. And I've replaced the old distorted paradigm of love, the expression of love, with this, higher octave of compassionate strength. If you can find compassionate strength in anything, then it automatically has a validation to it. It operates at a more higher sentient level, But love, this whole, I love you, love this, love that, love. It just feels wrong. It feels insipid,
It's got to be real, isn't it?
Well,
be real.
Isn't that the major word in a way that we're redefining in 2020? What is real? What do we consider to be the expression of real more than other, and whatnot?
It's a big clarity wake up, but I don't believe in forcing that, and I don't feel this energy which some people feel, which is like, humanity's got to wake up, we're crap, and, and then you've got some of the scientific people. I mean, science is great, and there's a lot of well-balanced people in science, but there's the old scientific community which kind of thinks that, humanity is a parasite on the earth and blah, blah, blah. And it's like you're not seeing the light in how beautiful we are, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we've had a lot of people, it looks like, from Africa, from Indonesia, from, Egypt, India, South America, Peru. What an incredible mixed bag. You're also incredibly beautiful. And we're very grateful for all of your your support, the fact that you're listening, the fact that you're tuning in. You're already operating, guys, at a much higher octave than most, because you're finding the desire within to search out these important parts of your own journey of self-authorization and self-actualization, and we're incredibly grateful for all of your support. And we look forward to sharing what takes place after we all go through this new physical change on Monday. And I'm sure a lot of you will all feel that in your own ways. And we'll look forward to discussing that further. Thanks, Riki. Hang around as usual, bro. And thanks to all. Namaste, and show compassionate strength through the mirror and reflection of all things, wherever you possibly can. And thank you so very, very much. We appreciate it.